This episode of the Out of Spec podcast was brought to you by Magna. Magna is a leading-edge mobility technology company for automakers, and it supplies automotive systems, assemblies, modules, and components to countless brands you've undoubtedly heard of. GM, Ford, BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, and so many more. Magna has been a key player behind the scenes for decades, including pioneering some of the first reverse cameras before you had even heard of the concept. They now look to the future with fully autonomous driving systems, ADAS, and mini electric car components for your EV at home. We'd like to thank our sponsors that make shows like this possible. Hey, welcome back to the Out of Spec podcast. I am joined by Mike Breeling and Kyle Connor, and we're going to talk about cars, especially things we've been driving like the F-150 Lightning. Finally, it was over a year ago when I went out and saw it like unveiling in Michigan, which of course I couldn't drive it, which was such a bummer.
But you got to ride in it.
Got to ride in it. It was great. Although I will say, riding in it was just kind of like another F-150. Although
kind of what driving it's like too.
Yeah.
I think that's the point.
Yeah, they did their job right.
Jordan, you did the job. Why did I even have to go and drive it?
I know. Redundant coverage. Anyways, how was driving it? Just normal?
Yeah. I mean, look, if you just drive it normally, it's just a silent F-150 with a very competent drivetrain and honestly a more settled down, unladen ride, which means when it's unloaded with no payload or no trailer, so much smoother, so much more buttoned down than the standard combustion F-150, mostly because it's IRS. And so you can let the wheels work in the back. They stay nice on the ground. And love the truck. I think it's awesome. It's going to power America, no question. They won't ever be able to build enough of them. The price point for the standard one is so freaking great. The problem is they're not building enough standard ones. So like the average one that they're building is going to be like 70 or 80 grand for like the highest produced one, which is just, a whole different ballpark. You can buy two base ones, which I would do.
Yeah.
One nice one.
I was going to say, last time I tried to build one just last week, it said the Pro model is not available. You can only
actually none of them are.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you can't actually order any. Actually, you're right. Yeah, the orders are booked.
So I mean, it's awesome, and so many messages about should I get a Rivian or a Hummer EV, and I'll have a video out on this, or an F-150 Lightning, and the answer is they all do something different.
Which is good. I was going to ask you about that because the pricing of the F-150s actually now you can even get it a little bit cheaper than a Rivian since their price raises. For an XLT at least.
For like a mid-spec large battery F-150, similar pricing to Rivian, probably a bit cheaper. And but Ford's going to be out of tax credit soon. There's going to be a long ordering list. I think what's going to happen is a Mach-E situation. I think these will be available on dealer lots. I don't think you need a reservation to get one. I think you'll be able to find them in inventory either from canceled orders or trucks that they're just shipping out. And, you may have to pay over sticker for them at some dealers, or some dealers might just sell them at sticker. You never know. But I think you'll be able to get them.
So you have to drive the Pro too, right? Like
I drove every configuration.
Great. So all they put me in was the high-end ones.
And that was actually the one that I didn't drive, but I did sit in it. But it drove the same as the loaded Lariat that I was in. So
the Pro was solid.
They all feel the same, really. I mean, the minor nitpicking that no one's ever going to notice driving the truck. But certainly the bigger battery rides actually a little bit nicer than the smaller battery. Smaller battery feels a tiny bit lighter. They all make the same crazy power. 775 pound-feet of torque in either configuration, bit difference in horsepower, but you really don't feel it jumping out of one and into the other. And I think the charging curve is fixed from Mach-E. No big peak. It's not like it's an amazing charging curve. It's just like now it's not a reason not to buy one, but it's not a reason to buy it. It's just it's acceptable, but still in today's age, like it should be better in my opinion. It does 150 kilowatts till about 50, 60, 70%, and then it sits at 120, and then at 80% it drops to 60 delivered to the truck, which isn't amazing. That 80% drop still very annoying. But overall, like you just can't nitpick it for the price, for the styling. It looks like a normal F-150, drives great. Just so into it. I was thrilled to be able to drive it. So lucky to be among the first to drive it. And our videos have done pretty well on it too. I'm excited other people are interested in them.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. And I mean, Ford kind of did it just a different approach than everyone else. Instead of doing some crazy new EV, it was just, we electrified the F-150. It's already the best selling vehicle like in the world. So why don't fix it if it ain't broke?
In America, I don't know about the world, but yeah.
Best selling truck in the world, best selling vehicle in America. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's great. Did you do any off-roading or towing?
No towing. They had little towing demos set up, but like, what am I going to learn from that? It can tow. We'll do all.
Wow.
We'll do all the tests when we get it back here. Did some like soft roading, but it's not meant for off-roading. It's even combustion F-150 kind of you never see them on trails. They're not meant for trails. It's meant to get you to like the job site on a dirt road. It has no ground clearance, no breakover. It's just not built for that kind of stuff. Can it do it? Can you load it up, get a wheel in the air? Sure. Just like you could with anything. But it's not like, I think it has just about the same ground clearance as the Rivian in low.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The guy, when I was riding in it off-road, we did a trail that it wasn't the best for because of the lack of breakover angle. And he used that as a feature. He's like, well, if you get the off-road package, it gets like the full metal underbody. So he just like did this thing and the truck just landed on it and we just glided across the surface and then the back wheels picked up. I was like, well, that's one way to work through a lack of breakover angle.
You say this is a feature.
Yeah.
Yep. Thrilled with the F-150 Lightning. I mean, I made 4 videos with it. 3 are live at the time of this recording. I have 1 more. It's really stupid. Just me driving around this little rally course. And it's not even meant for that. I just loved it. I would love to get a base one just to have as a work truck to use around. For me, I really like it because you can get the full $7,500 tax credit if you get it soon. And if you can get a base one at sticker, it's like $32,000.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's incredible value.
Pickup truck with 100 kilowatt hour. It's okay. $32,000 for a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, 2 motors, brakes, suspension. Amazing. And then they also put a pickup truck on top of it. Like,
I mean, an all-wheel drive. You could not buy an ICE equivalent 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive pickup truck full size for the money.
No, it's insane, and it's like the best value ever. Best value vehicle on the market, regardless of electric. The problem is you won't be able to get them. But fleets are going to be thrilled because it sounds like they're making plenty of them for fleets. I heard 1 in 5 are going to be a base model.
Cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So I am just so thrilled, so pleased. I love everything about it. Love what Ford's doing. They're all in, going hard. They got the right messaging, definitely the right team. And if you're interested in how it drives, I got all the nerdy videos up, so we don't need to spend too much time on the podcast. Also spoke about it on the Inside EVs podcast for a little while. But want to talk about a lot of the other stuff we've been driving recently, a ton of stuff. And so, what have you been driving, Mike? You made a video since our last recording with your Mini.
Yeah, well, I talked about that last time. Actually,
sorry.
Briefly.
Briefly, but
the Mini I've been driving basically just back and forth to work, and a little bit more of the Range Rover. Actually, now that the weather's a little nicer, our diesel Range Rover, which Kyle actually was able to drive pretty recently last week. Yeah, and it might have caused him to go make an impulse buy of something. I'm not sure.
Am I in the presence of Range Rover owners here?
Yes, that's why we're so proper. Mike. So let's talk Range Rovers before we get into some electric car stuff, because I definitely want to talk about Plaid with a round steering wheel and our new e-tron and some other things. I was just down in North Carolina because we had purchased an e-tron, and I'll talk about that here in a second, and went over to visit you and Ben, and it was great to see you guys after so many years of not seeing you.
A couple of years,
You won't come out and visit us for some reason. And
don't look at me.
Yeah.
Well, I can go wherever.
Well, then come on out. Leave Ben. Just come on.
Well, I'm going to Connecticut this week, so I'll do it next time.
Yeah.
You were just in Connecticut.
Yeah. And so went out for a drive after shredding Ben's Taycan around the track all day. Went out for a drive in your 2-door diesel manual Range Rover Classic. And it felt so mint. So mint. That engine, everyone hated. I loved it. I thought that is a great powertrain.
Oh, so it's slow, but it's just, I like the way it sounds. It sounds so like industrial. It's just like so cool. Yeah. Everyone knows when that car is started outside of the apartment. They all know when it's idling.
Incredible, and it's just in great condition, and it's all good. And fell in love with it. And ever since then, like that night, I'm like watching videos on old Range Rovers and looking at Craigslist and looking at.
Oh yeah, and let's be honest, we've all done that before. Either of us, before Ben and I owned the Range Rover, like we would go down these rabbit holes of looking at classic Range Rovers, looking to see what's for sale out there. Yep. Never jumped on it until one of my colleagues currently was selling his. So that's the only reason why we have one. Had we not, we probably would have wound up with a 4-door, to be honest.
Right. And going down the rabbit hole. And then, I was like, okay, it's time. Like YouTube's been doing pretty well. I'm going to buy a car that's not for the channels, because no one cares about Range Rover Classics except for us. And I'm going to buy a car for me, which I haven't done in forever. I've always bought a car that performs well on YouTube, has some purpose, has some ROI, something like that. And those cars are still coming, and that's fine. But this is like a very personal decision, because none of our audience cares about this. And I'm sorry I'm even talking about it in our podcast, but I don't know anywhere else to share it. And was like, found this really nice long wheelbase that was in Connecticut, but it looked like it needed some work, a little bit of rust, and literally loaded up Facebook for the first time in forever. And the first post was a 1 minute ago. Someone just posted for sale a Range Rover Classic that looked mint, 100+ photos. So, like super meticulous, all of the details. And then it was like, I looked at the group name and it's like Colorado Land Rover Range Rover enthusiasts. And I'm like, I didn't even know I was a part of this group.
You joined automatically.
And I'm like, okay, well, there it is. It's the right price. And I was just like, well, we're on our way. And so that's how it happened. It all happened yesterday.
Probably good you did.
Yeah.
To be honest. I'm sure he would have sold it to someone else.
I noticed on the way there, he raised the asking price $5,000 more. I'm like, here we go. We're screwed, but we just got to get there. Got to go find Hugh. Hugh, we're on the way. And he's so cool. He's this British dude, and he wants an RS6 Avant, and he has this beautiful house in the mountains. And the Range Rover was just to get him to the post office and back, because that's what you do if you're a British person. And
the most unreliable car to drive into the post office.
We show up there. He has these beautiful Great Pyrenees dogs. I'll show you a picture of them. Absolutely beautiful animals sitting next to the Range Rover.
Oh my gosh, Ben would be so jealous right now.
And I'm like, have the dogs? Yeah, and I'm like, have the dogs ever been in the Range Rover? And he's like, no, never. I'm like, what? That's the point of the truck. He's like,
well, you have a Range Rover.
I'm like, he's like, it's mint. I'm like, okay, well, I already know I'm buying it. We got to figure out price, but let me take it for a quick drive. Drove wonderfully, not a squeak or rattle, similar to your Range Rover, Mike, where like we have the only 2 Range Rover Classics that make no noise.
I actually think they were built better in the 90s. It's crazy. Then they went way downhill, and now I'm sure the new ones are fine again. But
yeah,
it's kind of unbelievable.
You got to bring it out, Mike. We got to do it.
Not the first Range Rover I've owned, but the first Range Rover Classic that I've owned. And just so thrilled with it. It just came about. It was so perfect. The circumstances were great. There was the perfect day outside. I picked up my friend Drew on the way down there. Alyssa, Drew, and I, we all hopped in the e-tron, went up to the mountains south of Denver, and there it was. And as soon as I rolled up, I'm like, it's in a garage. It's been in a garage its whole life. It's a Southern California car. It has not a hint of rust anywhere.
That's very important.
Just went through the paperwork. Every single service interval in the booklet is filled out. And I found out that one of the long-term owners was a Land Rover salesman. And
oh, cool.
And has articles about him being a salesman with this truck in it. So I was just browsing, looked up the dude online and found this picture of him with his family in our Range Rover.
That's so great.
Which is
that
just
is fantastic.
amazing. Yeah. And so everything's been done at like approved shops. It's got 188,000 miles and like brand new thermostat, brand new exhaust with new catalytic converters, everything, not a penny skimped, every oil change to a T, all documented. And I'm like, okay, this is a keeper. I don't think I'll ever sell it. I'm saying that now. Everything's for sale for the right price. But I'm just, this is a purchase for me. And V8, 3.9 liter. The transmission is my only concern about it, but I already looked up a brand new transmission's like $2,000. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, they shouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, so I figured if a whole replacement's probably 5 G's by the time you factor labor and all that stuff. Fine, whatever. But it definitely has a 1-2 clunk. And then
that's probably the way they came.
I mean, it's a real clunk.
It's an old car.
It's fine at wide open throttle. If you do a 1-2 shift to the floor, loves it. So I mean,
maybe you'll get better as it warms up. Maybe it was cold.
I mean, yeah. So I drove it 150 miles yesterday home, cruising at 80 miles an hour down the highway. I sent you a video of that, Mike.
I did see that. Yeah.
Sits at like 77, like nothing. And
yeah, I mean, even ours does. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Like it'll sit there at 70 miles an hour with traffic. I mean, the motor's a little loud because it's a diesel.
Yeah.
But it just drives smooth and true.
It has the weakest air conditioning I've ever felt, but it does work. It does get cold.
Ours does not work.
Right. This does, but like I think needs a definite recharge of some kind.
Yeah, at least probably.
Yeah, and definitely filters. So like it's a project. It seeps a little bit of oil out of the oil pan and oil filter, I've noticed.
That's normal. Don't fix it.
It's just like it's a little bit more than what I would like.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty easy. If you've already found a Land Rover shop, they could probably work on it pretty easily. Like we have one here. The guy's name works on is Doc. I don't know the exact name of this place, but going there, it's all a broken Jaguars and Land Rovers.
That's where I used to take my Range Rover.
Proper.
Oh, that same person.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you already know right where it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's awesome.
There's some good cars there.
Fair with his pricing. And we have a similar like Range Rover or Land Rover specialty shop in Denver, but then there's like another one in Colorado Springs, which is another hour south. And so, yeah, I figured 3-hour drive to like a real specialist to just tip to tail, run through it. Let's get it perfect, open checkbook, make it right. And then I can maintain it.
Yep. That's what the prior owner to us having it did when he first bought it. He brought it down to Doc and had him go through and change all the seals on it and everything. So it's all resealed. And so ours only leaks a little bit now, not like it was before, apparently, when it was first bought by my colleague.
And you know what's amazing? Does yours have a sunroof?
No, I don't think the 3 doors got sunroofs, at least not in Europe, maybe.
Well, we were test driving it, just like we'll take it around the block and like I know it's going to drive fine, but like let's just drive it around. And it did drive fine. The brakes, by the way, are incredible on ours. Like you just touch the brake pedal and you're like, it feels like a brand new over-assisted Chevy Silverado brake pedal. Like it's so boosted. It's awesome. Best brakes.
It's probably brand new. I mean, judging by the maintenance history, it could have been replaced at some point. But I forgot to text you because I was texting you yesterday. Don't test the sunroof just because they're known to break. And if they do, it's really expensive to fix. And I forgot. And then you told me later what you did.
Yeah. So it wasn't even me. Because I am forever afraid of using sunroofs on old cars.
Yeah.
From experience. And it's like, just keep it closed if it's closed. But then Drew, I'm like driving down the road. And before I had a chance to say anything, it's like halfway open. I'm like, don't. I'm like, well, at this point, if it breaks, we're going to own it. And it worked perfectly. And I used it all day today. Open, close, open, close. I just figured if we keep cycling it, then it'll be good.
The track was probably replaced at some point already.
So yeah, like just like in overall condition, it's been a driver. It's been enjoyed as a Range Rover should be. 188,000 miles is nothing, but most of that mileage was actually done in the first 5 years, and then it just kind of lived an easy life after that with regular maintenance at Land Rover dealers, which I just think like, my goodness, if they must have been so rich and they are so poor now.
Yeah, they can't afford to live in Colorado anymore. That's for sure.
Right. Well, it's way before. Yeah. So this was all California.
Oh, it's Southern California. Yep. Yeah.
And then the dude I bought it from, Hugh, his boss gave it to him.
Oh, really?
I don't know how the boss got it. I'm not totally like up with the whole story. I'm going to try and track it down because there's been about 3 or 4 owners. And I think I know of 3 of them. There was like a lady who had it for like 20 years as a collector. She had a whole bunch of stuff, garage kept, open checkbook. There was the Land Rover salesman, and then there was the boss of Hugh. So I think that's most of the car's history. And it sounds like everyone cared for it. I think we got so lucky. But
I think so.
Hugh got it from his boss to keep at the cabin in Colorado. He's like, oh, you got a nice spot. Just keep the Range Rover up there, I guess. And then he's like, oh, yeah, just sell it. I don't want it anymore. I don't know. But Hugh had it serviced at a local Denver Land Rover place and never really did anything with it. He's like, I just drive it to the post office and back. Never tried low range or anything like that. So I was a little bit nervous putting it in low range for the first time because, like, it was either not going to go in and get stuck in neutral, or it wasn't going to come out and be stuck in low range.
Yeah.
And have to say, because it's a vacuum operated switch, it worked.
So yours is a switch.
Oh no, the thing forward.
Or it's the lever like ours is.
But the lever has a vacuum component to it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought you meant. I just wanted to verify.
Yeah, it's got the same thing, but the knob actually isn't screwed on, so it's like glued on. And I popped it off by accident, and they have like putty to hold it on. Like someone must have. It looks fine at least. And I was reading through the owner's manual. They're like, if it hasn't been used in a long time, it could take up to 30 seconds for it to engage, and then with more constant use, it'll free back up. But I put it in low range, and boom, instant. And I put it in high range, and boom, instant. I was like,
wow. It's such a smooth shift. Like even it reminds me of our GX, the Lexus GX. Like that thing goes between low and high, super smooth. Doesn't make any grinding noises. Super easy. And the Land Rover or the Range Rover is exactly the same. I was like, this could be the same system in this thing. It just worked.
It's so nice. So yeah, definitely going to bring it in. Just do a tip to tail checkup. It's got no rust. Crawled all up underneath it. The frame is perfect. Maybe I'll do some sort of like rust prevention stuff, or, I got to research how to stop rust. I know not to drive it on our roads in the winter, but I definitely want to keep it I could see myself keeping this for years to come. Drove it over here to do this podcast with you guys today, registered on someone else's California plate. I don't know whose it is. But I'm just driving it. They can come and give me a ticket for driving it. It's I got to get it registered.
Or if they're listening to this podcast, you can come give him a ticket if he's driving a California registered Range Rover.
Any law officers, please click away now.
This is all allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Right. This is just hearsay.
Yeah, I mean, you just bought it. So, I mean, it takes a couple days to go to the DMV. I understand.
Right. And like banks were closed on Sunday, and Hugh was awesome. He's like seen our YouTube stuff. So I just like wired him the money. I said, yep, here you go. I wired it to you. He's like, yep, take the truck. I'm like, super cool. Just a great down to earth guy. His son actually goes to college right up the road here and wants to do some stuff with us. So great connections. Cars always bring cool people together. Anyone that owns a classic Range Rover is good in my book. And so I'm just so thrilled with this machine. I took the dogs out in it today, and they loved it. I
saw the photos.
Yep, the back seats fold all the way up. She starts first crank too, not even a long crank, just boom, and she's alive.
Wow.
Yeah, I really want to get out there now and drive yours to compare it to the diesel one here.
Drive yours out here.
Yeah, gotta shoot them both.
I don't know.
I would drive this across the country in a heartbeat. Wouldn't even think about it.
I think we would. Like, Ben and I totally would drive it across the country. I believe it would get there. It would just take a while.
Yeah, it's pretty
to get there.
And diesel's very expensive.
Yeah, so I mean, it might actually be cheaper to tow it on the Lexus and just pay gas.
Yes, it would be. It would be. And you would save the wear and tear. You'd have to do an oil change by the time you got here.
Oh, for sure. It's actually due for one now. So we're going to send it over to Doc to get one done here shortly.
Send it to Doc. We need a Doc in Fort Collins. I drive 3 hours every time my Range Rover breaks.
Well, if Ben and I move out there, we're going to need to know where to bring ours. So
right. Well, I'll do the dirty work and find out first. We don't really have any like old British classic shops here in Fort Collins. So.
That's because all the old British classic cars have rusted to nothing in Colorado.
Yeah, probably.
so there's no business market for it.
Yep, but just thrilled with it. And it actually, we got it after. So I was spent all morning yesterday off-roading in the ZR2, the Colorado ZR2, which is an awesome truck, by the way.
They have amazing factory suspension. It's like crazy expensive if you were to try and do that on your own car.
It's kind of cool. Well, one we have is a 0-option ZR2. So it has,
so that's cool.
It's really sweet. It gives you like heated seats, heated steering wheel, no forward collision warning, no safety sensors anywhere, no even parking sensors, just a reversing camera legally mandated. Yeah. And I kind of like it because it's like the ultimate like just base to build a truck on. And the suspension that it comes on, truly incredible. The big fenders in the rear, the thing looks the part, and it is by far one of the most capable vehicles I've ever taken off-road. Front and rear lockers from the factory.
Yeah, crazy.
Floor low, huge articulation, and just literally walked its way up our hill climb challenge and aced it. It was great.
Is that open now?
I'm excited to watch that video.
Nice.
Yep, that'll go up probably later this week or next of Zach's hill climb challenge and that.
Sweet.
Yeah, thrilled with it. And it had the V6, which is really underpowered at altitude. I think if you could get the diesel, which I think you can get the diesel in the ZR2, that would be the truck.
2.8 liter.
Yep, the Baby Max. I wish you could get the straight 6 diesel in that chassis.
Yeah, the new, like the 3-liter one that they have with the Escalade and the Yukon and all that.
One of the best engines of all time.
Wow.
Yeah, I know you can get it. Well, they make a Silverado ZR2 now as well. I don't know too much about it. I think it's new for this model year.
Yes.
So I'd imagine you can get the diesel in that one.
Well, that was GM being typical GM. They said, wow, the Ford Raptor's doing so well. We should do that. And then they totally failed and made something kind of lame.
They can't compete with the Raptor, but no, it's a different audience. I think.
But it's like the formula's on the table. Just make interesting things. Just do whatever Ford's doing.
Yeah, at least Chevy's trucks look good.
We have the Raptor 37 coming in a couple weeks, so looking forward to that.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
Yep.
And then what else? You've driven the Plaid with a circular wheel.
Plaid with a circular wheel.
Interesting.
Awesome. Loved it so much. So I'm not like a yoke hater. I just don't see any benefit the yoke provides. The only argument that kind of makes sense to me is people are like, I can't see the binnacle, the instrument cluster with the round wheel. But then I'm like, that doesn't really get in my way anyway, so not a problem. It's not like worth chopping off half a steering wheel so you can
a little bit better view. Yeah,
that's pretty dumb in my opinion. Really dumb. And everyone that's like a yoke's better than a round wheel. It's just like, no, it literally isn't. There's less safety there. There's less things to grab onto. How could it be better other than being dumber?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's why I think so many people are into the yoke. It's different, but in a performance driving standpoint, it's a terrible thing to have, which you found out.
Jordan, imagine if I told you this brake pedal is really interesting. What it actually does is it accelerates the car. Let's not change things that aren't broken. I don't know. I don't want to be a yoke hater because I'm not. If you like yours on your car, I really don't care what other people do. For me personally, it wasn't the right input to move the car around. A circular wheel is better for what I prefer. And Tesla also has updated Plaid with noise canceling and track mode, both of which transform the vehicle. It's quiet now. Track mode is great. More regen, which means transferring heat away from the terrible brakes and into the battery pack for deceleration, and shredded it up a back road and just fell in love with the car all over again. For those of you who don't know, I used to own a Model S P100D in the same configuration that I drove this Plaid in. And I was like, okay, I kind of really want one. So I actually went on to Tesla after editing that video and ordered one. So here's my Model S order in the page.
I was going to guess. I was going to ask you actually, because I saw the post of the little hedgehog.
Yes. Well, I didn't really.
So it's like Kyle ordered something.
Here's the thing. I'm 50-50 on whether or not I'll take delivery.
It's $100 or $250 deposit, right?
I need a car because I've been saying we're selling our Model 3 for like a month now, and I have not signed the paperwork yet. So I got to do that.
Oh my gosh, you haven't signed it yet?
Well, because I want to film some videos with it. So
you're going to revoke it.
No, I'm kind of worried they will. Either way, if they revoke it, we'll just keep it. But either way, I need a car. I don't want to drive the Model 3 every day anymore. It's kind of getting old and crunchy. And
you don't want to drive the Range Rover every day.
No, not Range Rover comes out special at least once a week. I want to keep it being driven.
Yeah, of course, but it's not a daily driver.
No, and we're going to off-road the Range Rover and do stuff for its intended purpose, but not a daily. Like on a hot day, I'm not driving that thing. The AC sucks. You know what I mean?
Ben claims he's going to drive ours, but I don't think so.
Yeah, so not. Even today, I was just like, okay, whatever this is my limit. And it was like 78. And I'm like, okay, this thing's going to stay perched. So I need a car. And here's my dilemma. I really want a Rivian R1T. So I've been like trying to figure out a way to get one. But everyone wants like a ridiculous amount over sticker because they can get it, and fair enough to them. And it's not like you can really just skip the Rivian line, I don't think. So... Oh, is that yours?
I didn't order it, but I built one, and I'm debating placing a deposit again.
I heard someone placed an order 3 weeks ago and then just got their truck.
Yeah, I've seen a few people who've placed it within like the past month. So it must have been like similar to a canceled order, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But
so I think I might just place an order for one and hope I get lucky. Maybe like Rivian will see my name and be like, oh, that guy is good for business because he makes YouTube videos. Or I could be really bad for business if you give me a crappy truck. So, it could go either way. I'll share whatever happens. Anyway, that's my preferred. Find a Rivian because it'll do well for content, comfortable truck. I kind of want a truck anyway. And so that works well. Option 2, which is coming regardless, is the Taycan GTS Sport Turismo. Now, before the GTS Sport Turismo came around, I actually placed an order for a Cross Turismo. And it was like, okay, it's only 3 or 4 months away. And then they launched the GTS Sport Turismo. I said, I don't want that car anymore. I only want the good wagon, the one without the And then they were like, okay, well, that's a totally different allocation, and we don't know when we're going to get those. And I'm like, I don't really need a car. I'll wait because that's such a special car to me. Again, another type keeper. I was one of the first ones outside of Porsche to drive the Cross Turismo, and just kind of really want a wagon Taycan. That's all me. And then it's like, okay, well, I definitely won't be able to even order the car with an allocation for another few months would be my guess. And then we're so close to the refresh of the Taycan. And if it's going to be a keeper, I kind of want all the new stuff.
Keep finding a reason to just push back a little.
I know, and it kills me because I really want it, but whatever. And then I'm just like, well, I need a car in the midst of all of this. So what can I buy that would do well for the channels, that fits my needs, that's fun and electric? It has to be electric for me personally, the daily drive an electric car. And honestly, after driving that Model S Plaid, I'm like, this is the car. It's so good.
I could see that. I was actually surprised you didn't order one originally. I was like, when I first saw the Plaid, I was like, that's got Kyle written all over it, black, white interior.
Yep.
And I skipped the wheels because he doesn't need them.
Well, I'd get Martian wheels.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you don't need to spend $4,500.
That's a waste. We'll just get the Aero wheels, have the range spec, do the range test, do all the stuff, and then put Martians on and never look back, and then get some suspension lowering links so it can sit on the ground.
So I was surprised it took you this long. When I saw that post of that order, I was like, it has to be a Plaid. There's no way Kyle didn't order. He wouldn't order a Model Y. So.
No. So then it's just like, okay, well, maybe I'll find a Rivian before the Plaid comes in. Maybe,
yeah, you never know.
And so it's all a moving thing, but at least now I have a car that can come. They say delivery next month.
So, for the Plaids.
Yeah, they say estimated June delivery, June to August.
Yeah.
And I know I can push test because I know how the stuff works. I'll just find a matching VIN and send it over to me.
That's true. Yeah, that's pretty much.
I worked there for a number of years.
Yeah.
I think I got the system figured out. So just like, and then like, am I ever going to get hurt on that car? The answer is probably not.
Yeah, I mean, the market's come down a little bit on them, but it's still, I mean, it's all Teslas hold their value like crazy.
I mean, even if it costs me, because I'll get a $2,500 state thing, which will offset some of the taxes. We have really high taxes here, like 7 or 8%. So it's going to be, $9,000 to register it.
Oh my gosh! You should just register it in North Carolina, 3%.
I know. Well, we're technically Colorado's 3%, but then our town. So what we really need to do is buy like the smallest piece of land in the next town up, where you don't have to do emissions, which is great for like our suburban.
Suburban.
Right, and B, you don't have to pay a city tax.
Oh, okay. It's like a lot of towns in Connecticut do that.
Yep, it's the same thing as like the Aquilarum.
Remember Guilford had that. Yeah.
So yeah, they're all moving parts, but it's like if this Model 3 is going, Alyssa has her e-tron. We have a lot of cars, but we don't have like, what if I just like need to go to LA, which happens a lot. Like I just need to hop in something comfortable that I can get out there.
Yeah, you don't want to fly.
Right. And a lot of times the flight schedules just don't work out.
Yeah.
Or we have to bring gear or people or the dogs or I don't know. And a Model S can just do everything. So I ordered one. I don't know if I'll take delivery. It was $250, non-refundable, but that at least buys me optionality for if Tesla says, hey, the car comes in and I'm like this close to working a Rivian deal with someone somehow, I'll just delay the Tesla until that's solidified and dump it. Or
I mean, the Rivian idea is cool because if you order the one in the right spec, like pick the colors that are in production or popular. Apparently, like the black interior is pretty much the only thing being delivered right now.
I saw someone get a forest green interior, which I would.
Yeah, so I was going to say black and forest green. The white or Ocean Coast is not been delivered at all yet. I think they pushed it back,
which is the one I really want. So then that's the thing. Too. It's like the Rivian would be purely a business decision because that would do well for you too.
More for you,
right? But like the Rivian's not. It wouldn't be the spec I want. And I want the big battery.
Yeah, anyway. At that point. Oh, so, you want like the max pack, the big one.
Well, we're gonna. If anyone's gonna use it, it's gonna be us.
Yeah, that's true. So you wouldn't do the standard pack.
Well, yeah. So it would be Rivian number 1, which we would then have to upgrade to Rivian number 2, and then we also have to factor in our good friend Will right up the street has a Rivian. So what are we really giving up?
Oh yeah,
we still have a truck we can film with. But it is an annoyance to him. Like we got to coordinate. It's not as easy as just having the truck downstairs. And then the other option is, do I just get a Taycan Cross Turismo, one available on the lot, to hold me over until one of these comes over? And so I think the answer is, I already know I'm getting a Taycan GTS Sport Turismo at some point in the future. I don't need that same experience twice. I'd rather diversify experience. And so that's what, I literally woke up in the morning, watched that video when it went on YouTube, and like, I was really happy, and then just like ordered it. And then I thought to myself, like, wow, I just really ordered that. Why did I do that? And
I've done that before.
Now I'm just trying to rationalize it.
I mean, the logic checks out, but yeah. I mean, after I saw Logan's Taycan, which is a Cross Turismo, but he wrapped over the black fenders, so now it's all body colored, and they even look really good because it's kind of like the BMW cars that have the little lip around the
got a little aggressive lip.
Yeah, it's so good, and he has the lowering, whatever you call them, to make it sit a little bit lower. So I was like, oh, I really like that. Dang. Still love GTS Sport Turismo, but I really like the Cross Turismo now. So you would probably circular wheel the Plaid, right?
Yeah, I would do whatever Ryan had with the software stuff. I don't think normal people, like, you can't just buy that off the shelf at the moment. I know they're working out deals with different companies to offer it. Ryan's just a really good friend, and he would hook it up.
So did that add on the stocks back too?
Well, you can do it with or without stocks. I would do it just like him. Stocks, round wheel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
The stocks are way better. That's like the biggest change. Because now you don't have to look for your stupid turn signal. People like it. It's just not for me. So So yeah, I mean, and then it's just like you sit in that thing and then you nail it and you're like, whoa. And then like now it can actually like go around corners sideways. It's still not as sharp or as grown up as a Taycan or an e-tron GT. It definitely is. It's an old chassis adapted to, like way overpowered.
And the brakes are a bit weak.
Yeah, but Mountain Pass makes an upgrade braking kit that I would do instantly. So it's not like the car comes perfect out of the box, but I like tinkering. We put big brakes on it. That's a video that'll pay for the brakes. Things like that will work out. Or maybe Mountain Pass wants to do an ad deal. I don't know, but there's opportunities here to make content that's relevant with the Plaid.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's what has my interest. If I can buy it, we can offset some of the cost with, and I'm not like, you guys know, I'm not like big into numbers. I don't need to rationalize it from a financial perspective because I'm really bad with that stuff. I'm just like, let's get it. But
Sure.
I can rationalize it where we can make content with it to offset the depreciation, if not pay for the whole car if we do enough stuff with it. And so that's worth it.
Yeah. And then e-tron, that just happened.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we just bought an Audi e-tron. It's like, we need to slow down over here. What's going
You're
on?
gonna forget what you've owned. You're like, oh my God.
Well, I forgot that I owned my police car, my Crown Vic. I was driving around the track in North Carolina. I'm like, oh my God, there's my car. And it hasn't moved.
Just sitting there on the flat tires.
Yes, the tires are destroyed.
That's great.
Yeah, so I think we have 7 cars right now, something like that. 7 or 8 cars. And
well, the e-tron is a Alyssa's car. Like that'll be what she's going to use to drive the dogs around or do her daily stuff or whatever she does.
She had been primarily using the Model 3 and would get annoyed whenever I would take it for something, and then she's driving the Smart or stuck in the Sprinter, which honestly is not an easy vehicle to drive around. 10,000 pound underpowered Sprinter, Winnebago Revel.
Yeah.
And we just like came to the conclusion where she's doing enough driving to just not have an interruption in what she drives. She likes to have one car. She likes to have something nice. And we looked at Model X, BMW iX, e-tron, and those were sort of the electric SUVs. She's on the electric thing. She wouldn't drive anything with gas again. And e-tron was 25 or 30 grand cheaper than the iX. I think about 20 grand cheaper. She nixed the iX from looks, but I think I could have gotten her over it if I pushed to it. But then it's like, how do you find one? Are they available at sticker?
Yeah.
Is it the right spec? We would only get it in black to hide the grill. And then, I kind of want the good sound system and stuff. So then it gets really expensive. And it's like not that great of a car, and it's going to depreciate like a tank. We just know that thing is just going to drop to the floor. So it would have been a really bad financial decision to buy one of those. E-trons have actually come up with the market, which means there's enough interest to keep them relevant. And we got the right spec, a prestige. We paid a lot. We paid all the money for it. We didn't get an amazing, a year ago, this car would have been 55 grand, 50 to 55 grand. We paid 65 for it.
And you guys talked about buying one when you lived here.
Yeah,
still.
We should have.
Yeah. Hindsight is always 20/20.
Right. But at the end of the day, we can't make the car market go lower. She needs a car.
Yeah,
everything's expensive. So we just went with the car that worked for her. And, maybe we got to eat 10 grand, whatever it is. But like now she has a car that she's happy with that charges really well, 150 kilowatts to 80%. We drove it across the country, videos coming on that. And just truly are enjoying that car. It's so quiet, so comfortable. Big massaging seats. We took it to get the Range Rover, and just getting into that car to like run an errand of like 150 miles was the most relaxing thing. Just, had it charged to 60% or something like that is what it had left in the tank in the battery pack. Went down to Denver, charged it up, picked up Drew, and she was able to do the whole thing down to South Denver and back to Fort Collins, highway speeds, floating over the bumps. Love it, really do, and it's the right car for us just to have an electric SUV that we can do daily stuff with. And so the thing is, if we did everything together, that would be all we would need. But we live separate lives, obviously, and so that's why I need to get something else.
Yeah. I mean, I loved my e-tron, so I was happy to see you bought another one.
Yeah, and we could have just bought a new one for what we paid, a new base one.
Actually.
Yeah, and so we really felt strongly that we wanted the options, we wanted the massaging seats, and all the new ones we could find were over sticker. We considered an e-tron S with the tri-motor, but a lot of money and no massaging seats.
Oh, with the good seats,
right.
With the sporty seats.
Right. So we just made the decision. We got a CPO 5-year unlimited mileage warranty from in-service date. Battery packs 8-year warranty, of course, and we're just going to drive it and not think about it. And we'll have it for a couple of years as just the dog hauler, if you will.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So
We're having a cage custom made for the back of it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
so you can throw the dogs in the back and they don't jump over.
Yeah, because especially like, I don't know, we have such crazy driving around here. Dog safety has been much more of a concern. Also for us, like you don't want a dog flying in the back of you.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have an area. It's got rear air vents for them and everything. So she's measuring it out now actually to have this company. They're doing like an ad deal thing. It's not even going to cost us anything.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Do it. It's your car. If you're doing the thing, you make the video and whatever.
Yeah, it's a good looking car. Kyle and Alyssa met me in my hometown in Missouri on their way west, and I was driving east, and we just happened to cross paths there. And that thing rolled up, and I was like, ooh, that's nice. It's like the only electric car I saw for miles.
Yes, that was true.
Kyle's like, is there a level 2 charger nearby? And I'm like, no, not here.
But we made it there. It was no problem. There's an EA station not far away.
Yeah, Boonville. Yeah.
Yep. And so one other. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh no, I was just gonna ask Jordan about a car that he was driving, but you can finish your thought.
I was going to talk about the Cayenne plug-in. So go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you drove that actually.
Yep.
Jordan, I was going to ask you about your i4 M50 experience.
Right. Yeah.
Because you have driven that, and I know you drove the base i4 too, right?
Nope.
Or was that also an M50? Oh, okay, I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember. My question was centered around which one do you think's better, but because I just think the base one for 60 grand or back at 60 grand is a really good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. If you're like, I don't know why you would necessarily compare it to Tesla, but everyone does. So I did. And it like, I don't know, it compared to a Model 3, it was just like, this is next level, BMW interior. It's just nice. And so many things about that car are solid. And the lift back, I mean, that I didn't realize how much I love having a lift back trunk instead of just a trunk opening with a static
Best
window.
Part of the Model S.
Exactly. So this felt like almost like a slightly cheaper way to get into a Model S type experience. It's not quite the same, not quite as luxuriously driving. I mean, this only had rear air suspension, which still helps. Like, it was amazing how the different dampening really made a difference when you jump between sport and comfort mode. But I really do like the i4. And that was kind of the thing, was like, I didn't expect to like it as much because just subconsciously I was like, well, it's not a bespoke platform. It wasn't designed for, electrification specifically. So it's going to be mediocre, trying to be too many things. But it's actually a really good EV. Now you have some issues with that, such as the pointless transmission tunnel that just kills legroom in the rear. But it's part of it. So I think it works. I love it. I brought it to Costco, put a giant subwoofer in the back, like it all fit, just barely, like half a centimeter, but it fit. I was like, there's no way. And then I literally sat my phone down to film it just to watch me fail, and it actually fit. I was like, oh, cool. Took some friends in it. We had it on Star Wars Day, and I was like, all right, let's go take the Starship out and just, the cheesy, but I kind of like the Hans Zimmer sounds. It's just a different approach.
So I was going to say, watching your video with the sport sounds or whatever it is that BMW has,
iconic sound.
I hated it.
Yep.
I would not spec it anymore after watching the video. I just thought it was a little too much.
Yeah, it's I feel like in sporty driving it was fun, but if you're a type of person who wants to leave it in sport mode all the time, you would get so tired of it. Fortunately, you can turn them off. I like the amount of sound they pumped in for comfort and eco mode because it's way softer. It's just like very in the background. But it just didn't annoy me as much as some other cars. It's still not great. Like, I prefer the Rivian's raw, natural 4-motor whining sound. That's just perfection. But this is it's a different approach. And Hans Zimmer is committed to making more sound, so you'll have like DLCs you could just download in future years,
for money, for cost.
Yeah. $300 new track dropped.
Oh my gosh!
Like, kid, back in my day, we paid 99 cents for a song.
Yeah, no, not for me. But like the car, didn't have a chance to drive it, and so
I want to drive.
Too busy driving a Cayenne.
Yeah, I want to drive the 40, the smaller rear wheel drive.
Yeah,
Smaller
we got to
engine
find some owners
drive.
with them.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
want to
you'll
compare
never
that.
find an Impress Plaid. I can't find a single video of it on YouTube. I've looked.
Wow.
They all have N50.
Well, I'll make that a priority to go find them, do the range charging tests on everything and all that stuff. Get driving impressions on them too.
Yeah. So Kyle, how's the Cayenne plug-in hybrid?
I had a Cayenne PHEV base coupe,
Nice.
which I wasn't excited about the coupe part. I like the boxy one. But like one hell of a drivetrain. One hell of a drivetrain. I drove that thing so hard up in the hills, and it took it like a champ and ripped the shifts, even though it was a torque converter automatic, and could do 27 miles all electric, something like that. Really great range.
Pretty impressive, yeah.
Yep, and just loved having a high riding position. I've made a couple videos with it that won't go up for a little bit just because, we're just trying to space content out a little bit more. But loved it. Great electric modes. The pedal is really nice. It would take me 5 minutes to explain the pedal. Probably took me an hour in the video, knowing me, how long to explain the accelerator pedal, and just ripped. But like drove comfortably. It does everything a Cayenne needed to do. It did. I just wish it was the boxy one. And no reason to get a faster one. Like if that was the only one on sale, or if they called that the S, people would believe it. But it was just the base. And then they have like an S plug-in hybrid and the turbo plug-in hybrid.
The turbo.
Wow. Yeah. I really want to drive that. So with the electric components, I mean, can you do like what's the top speed you can do? Or if you kick it down, will it pump in the engine again?
Yeah.
If you try to drive it electric mode.
So top speed in electric's 84.
Okay.
Which is pretty good, more than you would need. I was like passing people because I was like max electric mode, charging it whenever possible. It only had a 3.6 kilowatt onboard charger, but you can option the 7.2, which I kind of think they should have for a press car, but that's whatever. Really needed the faster onboard charger because I was like trying to do a whole bunch of range tests and performance, and you need the battery topped up to get the max out of it. So I was like, all right, as soon as it would die, I'd like run the combustion engine in Sport Plus to fast charge the battery pack. Which was a little bit annoying. But so the way it works is when you lock it in electric mode, they limit the amount of accelerator pedal travel you have. So rather than most plug-in hybrids that basically say all of the accelerator pedal input is now geared towards electric driving, and then just at the end, there's that little kickdown switch, which will turn the combustion engine on at wide open throttle because you're to the floor. Porsche said, no, that's dumb. I totally agree. And they just said, well, you're only able to use a portion of the total system horsepower. So we're only going to let you use a portion of the accelerator pedal. So they actually have a plunger that pops out of the back of the accelerator pedal that stops it from moving. And then if you need to push past whatever it can do in electric mode, you can push the plunger, and then the combustion engine starts up naturally. It only applies that extra little bit of power. It's not waking up and going, oh my God, you're at the kickdown switch, which is terrible for it and really unnatural. And so I thought that their integration of the combustion engine was better than any plug-in hybrid I've ever driven. And so I made a whole video about their accelerator pedal.
Love it.
Which no one will
probably
watch
the first video ever made about their accelerator pedal.
Yeah, but
a lot of engineering went into it. They'll be happy.
Yeah, I think they will be. But, again, only nerds will watch it. And, like, not even the EV nerds, like the plug-in hybrid nerds, which is like 3 people. But it's so good, and really loved it because they try and maximize the amount of time you're in electric mode. And when you go to combustion driving or standard hybrid mode, it's very progressive, very smooth, not jarring, and will make the components last longer.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, at the end there. I would have a plug-in hybrid Cayenne. Probably not a Panamera, but a Cayenne I would have.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not really into the Panamera thing. I've
owned one them briefly.
Yeah. And then I got over it.
Yeah. No, I'm all about the Cayenne. I mean, I've spent time looking at first-gen Cayennes just as like a winter beater. I was like, this would be sweet. Yes. But I love the new one too, and plug-in hybrid.
You can find like a facelifted first-gen Cayenne GTS manual. Holy grail.
Yep.
Yeah, literally holy grail money nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah. See, you look for a Porsche, you just toggle facelift, and that's what you'll want in your Taycan GTS
that's the thing. That's why I'm like, I'll just wait. It's not like I can get one now anyway.
Yeah, no one wants the pre-facelift.
Right. And I mean, I'm trying to get some cars for the channel that will cycle through, and some cars that, I would really like to have for the long haul. Yeah. And, build up a little, not shmee style, but very modest collection.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need a collection of supercars. I want a collection of like 2008 Jag XJs.
Yes, R.
Yes.
01 XKR Coupe.
Yes.
Yes.
Where people see the collection, they're like, oh, he has actual like enthusiast taste.
Or they would be like, why do you have so many crappy cars?
Sitting, air's blown
general
out.
traffic from the early 2000s.
Yes. But that's my era, is like 2000 to 2015, right? Will always be the golden age of automotive for me. And then there's this second wave of now all the early electric stuff that I'll one day want to have an Ioniq 5 in the garage forever, an ID4, because those cars really meant a lot to our business.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. And there's an electric car that was made in Colorado in the 70s, and I want to track them down.
Oh, I know of this.
Yeah, a kid is collecting them, I think, and
really?
Why
haven't you done a story with him?
I just found out, so I'm tracking him down because we need to do something because it's too cool. It was like ahead of its time. It tanked horribly, but now it's a cool thing to look at as a relic of the past.
I never heard of it.
Yeah, built in Colorado. I was like, this is great.
Hey, Jordan, you did some charging testing with the i4, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
How'd it go?
Good. Very, very. I need to look at like the actual curve comparison to a Tesla, but I just like a Tesla, an hour 0 to full, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
When did it taper off max though?
I think it was. I need to rewatch the clip. That was like weeks ago at this point, but it held it fairly well, and it did 200. I saw 207 kilowatts, which it only claims to do 200.
Yeah, so but was that 207 through the plug or into the battery?
Through the plug. Oh well, the car shows, it doesn't show the number. It just shows a scale from 0 to 210.
What?
It's so dumb. The car display shows this beautiful animation, but not the actual number.
Even if you go deep in the menus?
Yeah, I couldn't find it anywhere. The driver display is taken over by this graphic where you would normally see a number, and it just shows a bar that's filled in between 0 and 210. So it looked like it was over 200, but I couldn't tell where exactly it was.
So it was probably showing, because cars can measure in two places. It can measure what's going into the battery pack or what's coming in through the inlet pipe, the plug. And my guess is it was doing 207 kilowatts. That's what the charger displayed, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And I bet the car was running pumps, fans, cooling, and that probably was 6 or 7 kilowatts worth of power.
Yeah.
And then there's always some losses internally in the car too. So my guess is it was 200 peak to the battery pack. But no, you didn't have any OBD data on it, did you?
No. But any cooling it was doing was extremely quiet. Like I was, maybe it was PTSD, but I was expecting like overheating of some sort, which I guess that was just Rivian. Doesn't mean everything does it, but I was like, oh my god, is it gonna like overheat and then I'll have to unplug? But no, it just sailed through. It held high charging for quite a while. And
how do you know it didn't overheat when it tapered?
I don't know. Like it held it so much longer than I thought it would, and even at 97%, it was still pulling like 60.
What?
Or 40.
Either way.
It held. It was so good.
That would be pretty insane.
I was floored at how high it was holding.
Well, so it's holding that high, but it's still an hour to full?
Yeah.
So that means maybe it did actually overheat a little bit in the beginning. BMW actually publishes the ideal charging curve. So you can actually take a look at what you got in the real world against what they say the car should do.
Yeah. So
I'll do that. I'll do the analysis, but I haven't looked at the data yet.
Yeah. I just found like clip of video on my phone, but so at 30% is doing 165 kilowatts. Again, this is based on what the charger says.
Right. So I would love to know if you went back to that charger at 30% with a little bit cooler battery pack, if it would go to 165 or if it would shoot higher.
Yeah.
Because then we would know if you were overheating or not.
Yeah. So at 98%, it was at 30 kilowatts.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So impressive.
You didn't have the setting for fan quiet, right? Because there is that setting.
Nope. I made sure to turn that off. Yeah. This was the last thing I did. So I had already done the iDrive 8 deep dive. I was like, super
no one was
familiar.
interested in, by the way.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
But, well, okay.
Go ahead.
A lot of people have asked for it, but that is not representative of who actually watches the videos.
Right.
Like all the people who asked for it got what they wanted, but that's like 10 people.
Right. And it's just like tanked. The video just hit the floor. We're like actually hurting the channel by posting that video. I don't understand it. So infotainment reviews don't do well. Hogbacks don't do well.
I think the hogbacks should be shorter. I think there needs to be a different solution there. But
okay, we got to explore it. We got to optimize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean we've been driving a lot, buying a lot.
I drove something else too that I wanted to talk about. Oh, Ben's Taycan, his rear wheel drive.
Yeah,
basically Mike's partner's car.
And
at the track, did a full drifting day with it, which was amazing. Small battery, rear wheel drive, base Taycan, and it was freaking mega. Can't wait to post that video. Also did a range test. Also did a charging test. Nice. So got the stuff that we needed out of it. Did not massive range, but really windy, but still beat EPA in Taycan fashion, even in the worst of conditions. And the charging was hugely impressive.
Nice.
Yep. So standard battery Taycan's all you need, in my opinion.
I agree. Love that. That's all I'd want.
Yeah.
Well, that's all you got there, Mike.
Never sell it, but when you do, hit me up.
But just one hell of a update since last podcast that I was on. We've done so much. I've done probably 7,000 miles of driving since our last podcast, and in tons of different cars, from F-150s to e-trons to classic Range Rovers. Got to see Mike and Ben. Got to see you, Jordan, on your road trip, and just a crazy last 7 days.
Yeah, it's been a good time. Lots more to come. So, well, thanks everyone for tuning in, hanging out with all of our car explorations, and we'll see you on another episode very soon.